If you want to draw realistic hands from any angle, you need to know three things: proportions, which can be mapped out with simple shapes; anatomy, which is the basic knowledge of hand structure and bones; and values, to illustrate lighting. I'll show you how I draw an adult hand, a baby hand, and an elderly hand step by step using chalk pastel, a great tool for quick shading. This original video was recorded in my live figure drawing class, but we've condensed it to just the essentials in this handy video. I hope you enjoy the tutorial.
So this first hand has a bit of a gesture that kind of goes like this. Follow it down through the wrist. And then the biggest shape I see is this like triangle shape.
When I'm drawing a complex pose, I sketch simple shapes first to guide me on the proportions and focus on the big picture. You'll often hear me refer to toast, or a slice of bread, as the main shape of the palm, which helps me visualize and construct the hand using simple forms. I'll link to another video where I explain the toast concept and how to draw hand anatomy and structure that you can watch next.
You can't really see the piece of toast. It's kind of here. It's very distorted. So if you can't see it, then go back to just using shapes. Sometimes it's almost harder to force yourself to see those forms. Then I'm going to draw in roughly where those fingers are. Think about grouping your fingers. There's kind of a hole in the middle. This is purely a shape-based gesture. Now you can really see that box or that prism for the wrist here, right? It's very, very visible. I'm trying to not draw any of the outlines. I'm really just sort of drawing in those abstract shapes and alignments. That's going to help me with the rest of the pose. So you can't even tell that it's a hand at this point. So I would probably start with this finger here, only because it's like it makes up the largest shape, and then I would draw the finger on top. Okay, so this knuckle, if I brought a line all the way down, it would be to the left of the wrist. So it would be about there. And then the next one overlapped a little bit, coming down, and the joint. Okay, so now I'm going to draw in that negative space, so that hole, and then figure out where the thumb goes. Make sure you make that thumb thicker than the rest of the fingers. Okay, and then the thumb's going to come peeking out here. And then at the very end, I'm going to draw in this finger at the top, which is overlapped a little bit by the middle finger knuckle. I feel like it's not long enough. I'm going to mark where it is on the knuckle first. There we go. Might have been easier for me to start by drawing that negative space before drawing the fingers, but hindsight's always 20/20, right? I feel like this finger needs to be a little thicker. Okay, for this one, I'm going to draw in the shadows. You can see there's a cast shadow of one of the fingers. So this shadow is going to be pretty sharp. And so I'm going to shade it all in. And then we're going to add some shading to the fingers. And then you can see there's a bit of reflected light on the right side, which means there's a core shadow. If you are drawing with chalk, there's different ways you can shade, right? You can kind of shade going this way, you can shade going this way, and then you can draw your lines with the tip, right? So generally speaking, like you can see how short my chalk is. I would say it's about 1/2 inch. That's like the size that I like to work at, but everybody's different. So it's up to you how dark you want to go, or how the length that you prefer. Okay, the next one's gonna be a baby hand. So cute. Such a cute little hand. All right, so for this baby hand, I'm probably gonna start off with the overall shape. It's pretty round. You can see this little piece of toast is squishy. It's like Texas toast. And look at that wrist fat. When I say to make the wrist skinnier, don't do that for baby hands. Okay. So once you have like your overall shape done, you can check your negative space. So if I look at the thumb, the way I drew the thumb, the negative space is incorrect. So I'm just going to adjust it before I move on to the rest. Usually the thumb is its own unit, right? So it's important to get that negative space. Then you can divide out the fingers. Now this baby hand, somehow like the thumb is like the same width as the other fingers. Usually the thumb is thicker, but his fingers are so fat that like the thumb is like the same width The fingernails on babies are really short. And if you are going to shade them, you can just apply very, very light shading. So it would just overall like make it almost like a sphere. So just round at the wrist here. It's got little dimples in the knuckles.
Baby hands are chubby, stubby, and have a lot of rolls. There are very few wrinkle lines, which we collect as we age. And fun fact, if you've ever seen an x-ray of a baby hand, it's a little unreal. The bones are so far apart, it's like they're floating. Our bones eventually grow longer and connect. But if you want to nerd out on human anatomy with me, go and Google baby skeleton images. I can make this baby hand even cuter by adding more chub to the fingers. I tell my students to never draw fingers like sausage links, but this rule can be broken with baby hands. You can help support our mission to make art education easily accessible for everyone. Become a Wing Canvas member on Patreon or YouTube and get special perks like classes and critiques.
Last hand we're going to draw is the elderly hand. Same kind of structure, except we're going to add more wrinkles and more details to it. And it's going to be like more, I guess, just more bulbous where the joints are. Usually the wrinkles are on the outside of the hand. The inside is pretty similar, but you can see like the wrinkles. When you get really old, the wrinkles start to crisscross a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to do this hand below. So starting with my overall gesture, and then you can really see the bread shape. It's a bit curved. If you're drawing like a gesture, sometimes it doesn't even look like a hand. It can just look like abstract shapes, right? You're mostly checking for alignment and proportions and things like that. Draw out that mitten shape, and you want to check to see, I would say the fingers roughly are about half of the size of the palm, or half the length of the palm, because they're a bit curved, so maybe slightly more than half, but significantly smaller. So when you get to drawing the fingers, this line here is probably your best bet in terms of figuring out where the fingers start. So divide that up into 4, and then you can kind of draw the bottoms of those cylinders. Then from there, you can try to draw in the index finger.
My students always ask me which finger to start with, but it depends on the pose. The middle finger is the longest, so if I'm drawing an open hand, I'll mark the top of the finger and compare the length with the palm for good proportions. The middle finger is the top, or the peak of that mitten shape if you're grouping the fingers, and the thumb is the outlier of the bunch and the widest finger, so a lot of the time the thumb is the best finger to start with. In this pose though, the index finger overlaps the rest of the fingers, so it's the best finger to start drawing after the thumb. I also get asked often whether it's better to practice short or long poses. I personally prefer shorter poses because you can draw a lot more of them, but long poses allow you to add more detail and shading.
But also with like long poses, I find that I erase a lot, whereas with short poses, I just kind of tend to nail it. So I don't know. I like short poses better. There's less hesitation. Okay, I'm going to give it a little bit of shading before I go over it with my line. When you're shading, you can just kind of squint at your picture.
When it comes to shading, squinting helps me simplify values and see the big picture. When I'm hyper-focused, I see all the details and it really slows down my process. So the fastest way to shade is by simplifying your values into 3 tones: lights, darks, and midtones. I do this even before I finalize the line art because lines are details that can also get in the way of simplifying. We love hearing from our community. Is there a video topic you'd like to suggest? Let us know in the comments below. Join a virtual class in seconds and learn live from professional artists. Enjoy weekly assignments, individual guidance, and real-time feedback on your artwork so you can create like a fearless illustrator. If you learned something new, please like and share this with a fellow art nerd. If you love receiving quality and free arts education, subscribe. Here's a couple other videos you can check out next.